There is an object that has been orbiting us in space for at least 100 years, and every time somebody asks NASA or the military about what it is, their answers don't really make any sense. To understand what people call the Black Knight satellite, we need to go back. Not to the 90s, and not to the Cold War, but all the way back to the very beginning of the radio. In 1899, Nikola Tesla was experimenting with wireless signals, and he picked up a repeating pattern he said wasn't coming from Earth. People at the time dismissed it, but the same strange echoes kept showing up again in the 1920s and 30s. Then the Cold War began, and suddenly every unexplained object in the sky became a potential threat. In 1960, the US Air Force detected something in a polar orbit, a place no human satellite could reach at the time. And decades later, during the STS-88 mission, astronauts photographed this object drifting near the shuttle. NASA called it a thermal blanket, but the shape in the story didn't really line up. So before we talk about what the Black Knight might be, we need to understand the history that came before it. After Nikola Tesla's death on January 7, 1943, all of his assets and notes were seized by the US government. And after the Second World War and the establishment of the Berlin Wall, the fear of atomic war was at an all-time high. While children cowered under desks, countries fought desperately for superiority on land, sea, and sky. And with that arms race and technological race came with it the beginning of the space race. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the very first artificial satellite, and only a month later, they sent up a second craft, Sputnik 2, carrying Laika, a small stray dog from Moscow, who became the first living creature to orbit Earth. The US scrambled to catch up, pouring money into rockets, tracking stations, and surveillance. Every object in the sky suddenly mattered. Every signal, every orbit, every unexplained piece of debris became a potential threat. And in that atmosphere of paranoia and competition, the stories about strange objects in orbit started to sound a lot less like science fiction. The Roswell, New Mexico incident happened in 1947, and since then the country was already primed to see aliens in the sky. Just weeks earlier than that, pilot Kenneth Arnold reported 9 strange objects moving faster than anything the military had. Newspapers called them flying saucers, and the term exploded overnight. When a rancher in New Mexico found strange debris, and the Army announced they had recovered a flying disc, the public didn't hesitate. They connected it directly to the saucer craze already sweeping the nation. The government later said it was a balloon from a classified program. The damage was done. The culture was charged, the headlines were sensational, and people were ready to believe that something extraterrestrial was visiting Earth. Roswell didn't create the UFO phenomena. It amplified a fear and fascination that was already spreading across the country. For decades, people were watching the skies, already expecting visitors, convinced that something was out there watching us back. But cultural hysteria doesn't explain everything. It doesn't answer the real question. What is this object? Because eventually the myth leaves the newspapers and steps into the real world. And that moment happened in 1998. During NASA's STS-88 mission, the first space shuttle flight to the International Space Station, astronauts captured a series of photographs of something drifting just outside the shuttle. A dark, angular shape, something that didn't look like debris, something that didn't look like a tool or anything familiar. These images would become the centerpiece of the modern Black Knight legend. Once the STS-88 photos hit the internet, people started desperately trying to explain what this thing is. And over the next few years, a few theories rose to the top. The first theory is the NASA explanation. Their official statement is that it's just a thermal blanket that slipped away during the mission. Space junk often looks weird, and this wouldn't be the first time equipment had drifted off. The second theory goes back to the early space race, that it's part of an old satellite, something launched in the 50s or 60s that broke apart and wandered into a new orbit. The third reaches even further back, all the way to 1899. Nikola Tesla claimed he picked up radio signals that weren't coming from Earth. People later connected those signals to the idea of an ancient object in orbit, something sending messages long before humans ever got there. The fourth ties the STS-88 photos to the 1960 mystery object detected in polar orbit, a place no human technology could reach at the time. Some people think the shuttle accidentally photographed the same thing. And then there's the final theory, the one that keeps the legend alive, that this is an artificial object not made by us, something placed in orbit long before humans ever touched space. But no matter what theory you choose, the photos are real. The object is real. And in a lot of ways, the mystery is still very real. Thank you for watching.